Hey there, viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. So I had a little bit of excitement in the shop today, and I want to share with you, and there's some curiosity that has gotten to me, and I want to kind of bring you guys along for the experience because, well, you'll see here in a minute. I'll give you the quick rundown. I'll make the long story long. Customer, 2004 runner, stops in yesterday towards the end of the day, says truck's making a knocking noise in the back end going over bumps. Toot around town, hit a few of our lovely bumps on the main street here. Indeed, it has a knocking noise. I bring it in, don't even put on a lift, crawl underneath it. The problem is obvious, and this is the problem. This is the top end of his shock absorber, so these are the shocks on the rear, and that's what the top looks like. It is busted, and here is the other end that was sitting up on top of the frame. So it was broke. It was down there banging around. Boom! I said, you need a couple shocks. Drop it off, I'll do it tomorrow, because clearly he can't be driving around, like this, banging around under there. So he does, he drops it off, and this is where things happen, okay? So in the rust belt, if you're not familiar, when you get a shock absorber in, and let's say it's in one piece and it's in the car, you will not get that nut off. You won't get your nut off. And that's why, because, look at it. That's what it looks like. It is in an extremely confined area on this particular vehicle. So all you can see underneath the car is, this. Of course, you can't see this part because it's up above the frame. Let me let my fingers, my sausage fingers here, represent the frame. So it sits up in a very enclosed area, just about enough room to get up in there with a short socket and some flex head ratchet to tighten up the new shocks. And getting up in there to use a nut splitter or any other method it's prohibitive. I mean, you can't, short of removing the body from the vehicle. So it is always our method, and I've done this hundreds if not thousands of times, as you get out the cutting torch or the cutoff wheel. If they're accessible, I use cutoff wheel because you just got to cut through the shaft of the shock. Not a big deal. These are metal, what's left of them, dust covers. So usually I'll just take the torch, I'll notch a square out of it, I'll reach in there with the torch head and blast the shaft off, get the shock out of the way. Then all I have to do is just cut the upper part, get the bushing off, everything catches on fire, and it's not a big deal. You always have your inspected fire extinguishers handy, or the garden hose, which I always have when I'm using the cutting torch, particularly near the gas tank. Just kind of wet things down, if sparks fly somewhere, you hose it down. Done it thousands of times. So we're over on the driver's side now. That's where it gets good. So skip ahead to this point. And I did just that. Here is the tin cover off you can see straight through it, off the other side. And I came up here and I took the cutting torch and I blew a little hole in the top so I could get right underneath the bushing. I reached in there with a cutting torch. I cut the shaft, which all shocks have solid shafts, and there is no pressure in the solid shaft portion of the shock, and you're cutting way up high. No chance of anything going wrong, unless it's a hollow shaft. And that is what I discovered here. So hopefully that focuses. You see that? You see that oil coming out of it? Watch this. Yeah, I've never seen that before in my entire life. Let's say I was not pleasantly surprised. However, I was surprised. And I was surprised with a huge flame job. Fortunately, it still had the metal guard on it, and the fire could only escape in the hole that I cut. But I'll tell you this right now, it was about a 5-foot flame job, and it scared the bejeekers out of me. And I may have peed a little when it happened. I'm not real sure. All I know is I grabbed my hose and extinguished it very quickly, and I don't know why, and I guess this is where I'm going with this video. I'm almost embarrassed to show this, but it's just the fact of life. Out of the hundreds and thousands of shocks I've cut, I have never, ever in my life seen one with a hollow shaft or experienced this. So now I'm a tad bit gun shy. What I want to know is that the way this shock is manufactured, or is it a defect? Is it a hollow shaft that something has gone wrong in here and allowed the pressure to go up in the shaft and give us a little bit of a surprise here? I will say this. Here's the other piece. This was the piece that was on top of this one. This is why I did not reach up and just take the nut off it, because it looks like that. I don't know, it scared me. Nothing happened. That's what I was going to say. I will say this. Nothing happened to the vehicle. This was all over in a matter of a couple seconds. you know, realistically. I mean, by the time, because you're like cutting along, it's like whoosh, then it's like woo, kind of like that, and then you're like ah, and then you're like spray, and then you're like holy, and then you're shaking like this for a few minutes, and then you come back and finish cutting it off with a torch and wonder what in the thunder happened. So what I would like to do with you, bring you along, I want to cut this open. I want to cut this off. I want to make sure that I'm not just seeing things, that indeed what we're hearing is a hollow shaft. I think if we push it, some oil will come out of it. Ooh. Oh man! See, I told you, I'm not crazy. But what I want to know is that made like that, or did something happen? And there is only one way to find out that I can think of. No, I don't have a giant pipe cutter to cut into it, but I do have a cutoff wheel. So, same thing I tell Mrs. O all the time. Hey, what do you want me to do? Chop it off? Chasing it around. So what I want to do first is chop the shaft off so we can have a closer look, engage the safety squints. She is hollow as can be. So looky. Man, I am going to be very hesitant to cut any more shocks. Of course, the odds are pretty favorable considering I've been at this over 20 years. And first time I've ran across it. Now, I say we open this up now. It should be depressurized because it is. Trust me, I've seen the pressure coming out of it. Cleanup crew over here, and here we go in this episode of what's inside a shock absorber. And here we are. So that probably has some oil in it. Yep, it does. Here's our shock unit. Let's see if we can't pull that off. Let's pull out the shaft. Lots of good stuff in here. Making a mess. We're making a mess, we are. Let's see, there is a hole straight through that there. Let me take and make sure it's not hot. I'm gonna put my lips on it. So that blows out that hole there. That's machined through the side. Okay. I don't know, not fully understanding how this dampens, if there is supposed to be any oil past, this seal, allowing oil to go up in the shaft and pressurize it. I don't know. It is very curious though, so you guys can see how that's built. Of course, we got the gas charged cylinder here, or what used to be. I've never been so scared in my life. Actually, I have, but it is just interesting. Some kind of valving action going on down there on the bottom. Not being the shock master, I don't know. I suppose we could cut the other one off and see if it is also pressurized. Of course, if it is pressurized, but it's not supposed to be, we could potentially have two defective shocks. But this is quite curious. I'll tell you that much. Huh? Yeah, and that metal rod come right up through the middle of it. Very interesting. I wish I was a shock master so I could show you or tell you guys exactly how it all works and how it all dampens. We don't know, we just know that they do. Ah, come on, you little sucker. There we go. This this thing pull out? Nope. Probably unscrews or something. Anyhow, I just wanted to see, should we cut the other one apart to see if its shaft is also pressurized? I think we should. What's the worst that can happen? Can't be as bad as what happened earlier. I'm just thankful nothing really bad happened. All right, so we'll throw that back in the recycle bin. There, that over there. I did, when I was all done, look in service information, because sometimes they'll divulge information like this, like under no circumstance ever cut the shaft. And it said nothing like that. Actually, it gave disposal recommendations. It tells you to drill a hole here and drill a hole here to relieve the pressure, you know, and then dispose of it properly. That's what it tells you to do. 1/8 inch drill bit, bang, boom. It gives you a range in which to drill in. Sometimes if there's, you know, some wonky stuff like this, it'll say never ever cut through this with a cutoff wheel, or, you know, something like that, which is exactly what we're going to do right now, because we want to know, does this baby have some pressure in it? Engage your safety squints. That's going to scare the crap out of me when it does. Hopefully it doesn't catch on fire. Oh yeah, there she goes. I'll be jiggered. This is what it was doing earlier, except it had flames. Would you look at that? Who would have thunk? It smells pleasant. So, I guess, let this be a lesson to you. Let it be a lesson to me. I am going to be the most gun-shy dude ever cutting shocks off against. She's still hissing away at us. All right, I think we're safe. We're safe until we're not, but there it is. I just cut a little slot in it, just to get to the good stuff. Wow. Well, that was educational. Did we learn how a shock works? Absolutely not. Do we know they're full of pressurized gas and oil? Absolutely. Did we learn that the metal shaft that runs through them is full of pressurized gas oil? Evidently in this case. I do not know even what brand these shocks are. Probably KYBs, I imagine. They're the OEM shock on the 2004 Runner. We could go out in the scrap metal bin and probably grab 100 different shocks, and you're never going to see one with a hollow shaft like that, or at least in my experience. As a matter of fact, I usually save, oh, they're over in the other toolbox. A lot of times I'll save the center section of different various shafts off shocks because they make great punches, and they're all over in my other toolbox right now. I don't have any in that punch drawer right there. Perhaps this far through my life I've been just lucky. So I would like to know your experiences. Have you seen that before? Have you experienced that before? Have you lit one on fire before? And if so, you know, tell me all about it, because that'll be fun. Be safe. Wear your safety squints, which I had on at the time. If you use a cut torch, keep your torch next to your fire extinguisher and your garden hose, and know how to use them and know where they are. And I'm thankful that I have that practice, cutting off shocks, to have that stuff handy, because it saved my bacon today. And go down, leave your questions, comments, criticisms down below. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.